I'm Tom Leonard. I'm the host of the Gamers Change Lives podcast. When it comes to esports, as I always say, I'm not the expert. I'm more the explorer. The goal of the podcast is to talk to esports entrepreneurs and others around the world to learn how esports can create jobs and maybe inspire others to do just the same. Here in season 2, we're talking to esports entrepreneurs and others to talk about revenue generating activities such as sponsorship or investment or media rights or streaming or merchandise, because it takes money to create those jobs. So our tagline here is play games, create jobs, change lives. Today, I'm really happy to have two great guests here. Kieran Sanford, he's the co-founder of For Gamers' Sake in London. Hey there, Kieran.
Hi. Yes, all good. Yourself? How are you, man?
Good. And you're talking to us from London?
Yes, I'm from London. Yeah, I'm talking right now from London. Yes, correct.
Yeah, that's great. And our second guest is Baba Dioum, and he is the manager of Solo Esport in Dakar, Senegal. Welcome, Baba.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for having me.
And are you speaking from Dakar?
Yes, I'm speaking from Dakar. Just right back to Rabat. Came back from a summit, an esports summit. Yeah, definitely speaking from Dakar.
Great. Now we're going to be talking about that in just a minute. So, no, because I think you both have really interesting backgrounds for season 2 here at the podcast. But I thought maybe first we'll just talk about how you got into esports. It's always fun to hear how people got started in esports. If there's a PS1 involved and things like that. So Kieran, how did you get started in esports?
So esports. So I've been a gamer for as long as I remember. Gaming for me was my escape growing up. I was quite fortunate. I was able to. My parents got me a gaming console quite early, and I was so tuned into technology when it was there. And I started playing video games from an early age. I think my first console was the PS1. But probably remember the PS2 more, as I was more on that. And then how I got into esports was I started a career in sales and recruitment. And that was like sort of just working with candidates, managing talent. And I started to learn about the industry and went into looking at gaming and esports, and being a big football fan, I started to see a lot of football clubs reach out to the space or start to do some stuff. So I was like, imagine bringing my two things together, being football and gaming. How can I create something that sort of fills that void? And then, as the industry progressed, I started working more in the industry with gaming and talent and other people in the industry. And then we got here today. So that's sort of my story, just from a passion, really turning a passion into trying to create something that I think was needed for the industry.
Can you describe in a little bit more detail? Because I'm always really curious about when people were working in another job, working, doing something different, and they kind of turned a corner and said, "Hey, maybe I can make a living in this esports thing." Can you talk about what made you turn that corner?
I think I was like, to be fair, I was used to like cold calling and sending cold emails and trying to make things happen on the recruitment side, where I was like, if I use them resources in this industry, I just want to build relationships with people. And the gaming industry, I started looking at LinkedIn. LinkedIn was a big thing for me as soon as I started. And I just started to realize that actually, like, why would football clubs and why would sports not want to integrate with this new thing called esports? Because when it was in 2017, when I started, esports weren't really a thing. I used to kind of get laughed out the room when I used to bring it to meetings. Like, well, that will never be a thing. Do you know what I mean? And we start to see that that's changed massively, and esports has got to the level it has now, and it has so much potential. So for me, it was just about how can I saw a gap in the market, and I said, how can I look at doing that? So just reached out to everyone I can, and it started to make sense that actually I can actually have a career in this and try build this into something special.
Yes, that's great. Hey, Baba, how about you? What got you started in esports?
Oh, thank you, Tom. So I think I got interest on esports since I was a child, because I believe that I was always a gamer, and I started playing when I was 7. And I remember back in the days we were in Dakar in 1997, and we were used to going to Esport lounge, gaming lounge, with my older brother, and I think we were playing games like Mario Kart, Mortal Kombat, GoldenEye, and Perfect Dark. Those games were popular, and those games was really, really, really on the market at that time. And I remember that I was really, really a fan of my big brother because he was really talented. He was destroying everybody in the gaming lounge, and yeah, it started from that. And then after my parents bought a computer, so we start playing games on computer, got interest on it, and after we used to go to cyber games. I'm talking about the 2000s era, and we start going to cyber games and found out that we can play online using internet. So we start playing internet games using some websites. And from that, we start downloading game also and start playing games like GTA, like FIFA, like PS. And all these games was truly good memories for real. And the list can goes and on and on. And before I start going to the university, we had a small community, and we start playing games and start doing what I can call LAN parties, and using internet LAN connection to play games like Call of Duty and all these kind of games. And from that, we found out that there was a way to create an association and make sure that we can maybe drain more people on us, and using social media. At that time, we were using Facebook. So go on Facebook, do some research, and found out the gaming communities, bring more gamers, and create good events. So at the very beginning, it was small communities and small events. And from that, we decided to create an association named Sen Games. And Sen Games is the first national esports association in Senegal, also gaming association. And we will keep going on. And we started looking for sponsors, and we found out that at that time, the most dominant sports was the wrestling games, the Senegalese wrestling games, really popular with football. So we couldn't manage to have sponsors to support our events. So we decided to keep going on that way, making small events, all this kind of stuff. And when I came back from university, I decided to get interest on esports. And I'm talking about the 2015s. And since then, I start having some visibility on how esports were going in Africa, so in Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, and in Morocco. And we found out that there were a lot of activities, there were a lot of events, great events and big events. And we start thinking about making this kind of events. So we were collaborating with different brands, different companies to make it right, to make it great. But still, we were struggling because having sponsors in Senegal is really tough. And when we started having great talents on FIFA, especially the Dex brothers, we decided to move them to different countries and make sure that they will take part to these esports events. And from that, we will be sure that we can maybe create some visibility. People can know more about esports in Senegal and discover that there's talent inside. So it all starts from there, and from that we decided to create a club, and an esport club. And we knew that if we start this club, if we start doing the promotion of the club, and we start recruiting great players, it can help us grow faster. So basically, that's all about my stories about how I got into gaming and esports.
One of the things I always hear from so many people here, and YouTube in particular, you saw a need and you went to fill it. It's like no one is inviting you to go do this. No one's saying, "Oh, here's the roadmap. Go follow this roadmap and go do it." Instead, most of the people we talk to on here, they're doers. It's like this needed to be. We identified something that needed to happen, and so we went out there and did it. So, Kieran, what's the status, do you think, of esports in the UK these days? Is it expanding there?
Yeah, for sure, it is expanding. I think lockdown done a lot of the lockdown sort of being in your house and stuff had a lot of positives on the gaming industry, and it really made people understand. See, there weren't many positives to take from that whole thing, but I think gaming was one where people really understood how much they play video games. I think it was a bit of a positives and negatives from what was taken, because you got to think traditional esports events in stadiums and in doing events was on hold due to it, and I think that held back the industry massively, because if we want to really be reckoned and really recognized as a real sport, I know some countries class esports a real sport, and it should be totally that. But I think it's the events. I think events are really going to power us through. I said the money is coming through, the sponsorships are coming through, but I think events in stadiums where it attracts a real audience is what's going to make us really going to battle against traditional sports like football and other sports. So we're seeing some great events come up recently, but we need more of them. But from a UK perspective, we are behind. You look at Europe and you look at America, and there's certain avenues we are behind, but I can see us as an industry as a whole in this country really making a really growth spell. More degrees, undergraduate qualifications going into our colleges and universities and stuff like that. So I think the appetite is here for the UK, and I think we definitely want to keep building on that infrastructure, but I think we've got a long way to go. And a lot more education, just like what you do, Tom, bringing on guests to really talk their insights. I think that really helps people really position in their country how esports looks for the future.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Baba, you mentioned something about going to Morocco, and that's what I saw recently, that you made a trip to Casablanca, I think it was. Can you talk a little bit more about what the trip was about and what you did there?
Yeah, sure. I got an invitation from the Royal Federation, the Royal Esports Federation of Morocco. The short context, I'm going to give you a little bit context. So in the last 2 years, Morocco was just establishing a Royal Federation, driven by the King of Morocco. And they decide to create big structures that can federate all the esports structures, association in Morocco, and create one great entity that can operate every esports activity. So from these 2 years, there was always doing events in their country, because Morocco is big, probably one of the biggest country in Africa. And in the end of 2022, they decide to invite experts from different continents, from different regions, and especially in France, because in France you have a lot of structures, a lot of great company on esports. And they decide also to invite people from Africa. It can be entrepreneurs, or it can be association or federation, because they do believe that we need to unify, we need to be one, and we need to work together on how we can build a strong confederation, maybe about confederation, esports confederation for Africa. So they invite me and Sidik Bakayoko and all these great name in the world. So they invite also the creator, the founder of tournament. I don't know if you know the platform tournament, and all this kind of stuff. And the event was powered by Webedia. I don't know if you're familiar with Webedia. There is a big production entity in France. They have TVs. They do streaming. They do a lot of stuff, and also they do events. They organize events. And it was also an opportunity for them to present us what we call in French La Cité du Gaming, like the city of gaming, because they have nominated a city named Rabat. It's 1 hour from Casablanca, the capital. And
hey, what are the great things? The one time that I was in Morocco, we were staying in Rabat. And we were going to go to Casablanca just for the day, just because that's all the time we had. So we got to go to the train station in Rabat, and we got to go to the ticket counter and get a ticket to Casablanca. And if you're just like a huge movie fan here, to get a ticket to go to Casablanca, it was a big deal to us. So I know exactly where you're talking about.
Absolutely. So they decide to nominate Rabat as let me call the city of gaming in Morocco. So their federation are collaborating with the Ministry of Youth, and the Ministry of Youth decide to inject budget and to invite all the investors from investors company from Morocco to invest and create a strong ecosystem of esports and gaming. So they are planning to do a lot of stuff. And also they decide to invite us to talk about esports in Africa, the impact, the context, what we're living for a day, how we organize our events. And I think it was a great opportunity. So we went there 2 days and we were discussing about esports, networking, and all this kind of stuff. It was really interesting. Yeah.
No, that sounds great. Kieran, in the UK, is the government part of the esports industry the way it is there? It sounds like it is in Morocco.
Not as much as we'd hope, but I imagine that will change as we progress. I think it's been a lot of organisations coming together outside of the government to really try power and make things happen. So not so much that I know from the government themselves. I have had conversations with like the government and certain parts of that area, like the digital side and stuff like that. But I've not seen nothing huge from them or anything like that has that really committed their plans to esports just yet. But I think it's only a matter of time until that changes, as a lot of schools and stuff are starting to adopt it into their curriculum.
I tell you, there's so many. I could go on and on here because, Kieran, you're talking about education, which I just think is really, really interesting. And Baba, you're talking about the government, and it's we could keep going down those roads. But I want to get back to the things that eventually that first got us here. So, Kieran, I want to talk a little bit about For Gamer's Sake.
Yeah.
What the organization is, because I really like your tagline, bringing the community together through gaming. I mean, that sounds like it could be a Gamers Change Lives tagline. So, could you tell us a little bit about what the organization is and what it is that you do?
Yeah, of course. So it's our community initiative of Forsake. So Forsake, we do a few different things at Forsake, but For Gamer's Sake is our community angle. And I was working in the industry for about 2 years, mostly as a freelance managing talent. But then For Gamer's Sake for me, is that I grew up in Southeast London, where there was a lot of social issues and gang crime and knife crime and was issues in the area. So across Southeast London. So I wanted a way of, and I started to understand how the impact gaming had on me. I think I was too young to really understand that it was more than just a game. But the industry really helped me change that. So for me, having a gaming console, I'll say it all the time, it actually changed my life. Like, if I didn't have a gaming console and I weren't in my house safe, I would have been on my local estate or my local outside my house playing with my friends and probably getting into stuff I shouldn't. So it took me away from their influences. So I wanted to create, and alongside my business partner, Michael, who's actually my family member, we came together and we started realizing, how can we really sort of keep young people off the street? I said, we understand gaming isn't cheap, like gaming consoles are expensive, there's a lot of gaming poverty, and how can we really create a hub that creates a safe space for young people to come along and just have a few hours where they can play video games, meet new people or play with their friends. So we started to roll that out, free pop-up gaming events across Peckham, where I grew up in Southeast London, and then we started to expand that. And then, unfortunately, there was a lockdown around the corner. So we started in 2019, November, and then we done about 15 events, and then a lockdown hit. And from that angle, we were quite puzzled on what we wanted to do, because like it was all good planning online events and doing Zoom and stuff like that. But our events really catered to young people that didn't have access to gaming consoles at home. So doing Zoom or doing online tournaments, we couldn't actually reach out to them young people that we wanted to cater for and give accessibility for. So we played around with the idea, and then obviously as soon as we were allowed to, we went straight back out and done events. And started partnering with schools, colleges, and started doing workshops, and kind of turned it more from just free gaming events. Because my biggest issue, and Michael, my business partner, was once they come to our event, it's all good that they're there and we're keeping them safe and they're getting to play video game. But what happens when they leave? They go back to that same environment and they've not got access to gaming, and they're really big fans of it. So we started to create this platform for us where we were, how can we bring them to our events to really add value, or put them, or give them advice, or put them in touch with conversations and businesses that might be able to help them build a career in this. Because I go back to my point, gaming is more than just a video game, right? It's a career, it's a game changer, excuse my pun, but it can really change your future. And the amount of career paths in it at the moment, I think a lot of young people don't understand that. They think you just need to be a professional gamer or a content creator, but you could be a podcaster, you could be an event manager, content videographer, photographer. Do you know what I mean? There's so many different career paths that come into this world that I think a lot more young people need to be, and parents need to be educated about.
Yes.
So that's the initiative as a whole.
So is it more boys or girls, or mixed?
It's a mixture. Yeah. We do as much as we can to really get more females into games.
I say boys or girls because I'm picturing them being younger. I mean, maybe they're a little bit older. I don't mean to.
Oh, no, so we would do 2 events. So we would try to do an event in the day where it would be for a younger audience, under 18. And then in the later and evening, we'll do an event over 18 where the game titles would be 18 plus. And we'd have FIFA and Mario Kart and your sort of casual pickup games as well. But we wanted to cater to both. And we also done some weekend events for the whole day where a mixture of different ages could come. We wanted everyone to get involved, really. It goes back to our bringing the community together through gaming. We just wanted to bring everyone, no matter how young or how old you are. We just wanted everyone to come into the space and I really enjoy playing games.
What was the ethnic background of people in that area? Were there a lot of people from other cultures?
Yes, yeah. It's quite mixed.
Yeah, because I'm just not familiar with the areas there.
Yeah, it's very mixed in where we are in London. I think London is quite a diverse area, so yeah, it was a mixture of backgrounds, and what it was people that have come from maybe such a disadvantaged backgrounds, people that have come from advantaged backgrounds. Like, it was just such a be able to bring them all together. We found it so rewarding, and I still see people now like people message us, even though we've not done an event in Peckham for a while because we focus more in the schools and the colleges now, but that is an initiative we look to bring back. But yeah, people message us and just see, like, I can see people that came to our first event now got a career in gaming, and it's just like that's kind of hopefully where they've really springed on from when we first met them, and gone on to really understand that this could be a future for them.
Well, good for you, because I think I saw one of your little videos that maybe on Twitter or something. You're talking about having an event and you had like 6 screens and a couple of consoles, and 100 people show up. And it's like,
yeah.
Now what do we do, sort of thing. But that's how you learn. That was
our first event. I was actually borrowing consoles off my friends, and I was like, "Can I just borrow it for one night? Like, you can come pick it up after." And I was borrowing screens, and it was just, yeah, it was. It was, but you know, it was a good problem to have, because when I realized the numbers, it was like, I can't stop this. The impact this is going to have is going to be great. So yeah, it pushed us on. I think that actually pushed us on. If we had an event, it's quite obviously we would have kept on trying to do what we can, but when you do an event and no one tells us, it's kind of like, is this what people want? And you kind of question yourself. So I'm glad that we were oversubscribed and we had more people there. But the young people understood. I think they just appreciated that they could actually go on and have a go. So yeah.
No, it's great. And the other thing I'd like to hear you talk about is it not only lets the players, the kids know, the younger people know that esports can be a career, gaming can be a career, but also does the parents. It also informs the parents, because so often the parents are the ones that are like, what's that crazy stuff you're doing there? It's like, that's never going to go anywhere, sort of thing. I want to talk a little bit about your sponsors, because I also think I saw a couple of videos with Barclays involved there. So who are can you describe the partners that have come, that you have recruited, and how you made that happen?
Well, yeah, Barclays were someone that I've always supported in terms of, like, I think the team over there are great. I'll specifically shout out Elaine from Barclays. She's always been supportive of what we do, and she heads up esports at Barclays, and she gave us a platform to really talk about our story.
Sorry to interrupt there. Sorry to interrupt. Can you describe, you say Barclays has an esports division, has an esports group. Could you describe what that is?
Yeah. So Barclays I think they want to, there's certain sort of different elements what they want to do, but they look to really promote the industry, and really try help it, I imagine, commercialize in terms of promoting it for events and trying to bring the industry together. Like they do a lot of game publishers events and really bring indie games people together so they can all collaborate and let people see their games. So I think they're, from an early gaming cycle, they try to provide a platform. But I also, on the other angle, because they also want to provide a solution that helps gamers. You've got to think there's a lot of young professional athletes out there that can go from 0 prize money to $1 million prize money, right, in one tournament. So it's the whole wellness and mental health that I think they try to fill the void of, and just let these professional gamers and these content creators that they're not alone. And if they need wealth management or investment advice, I think they want to provide that plug-in and solution to really help these gamers.
Got it. Hey, so I didn't mean to derail your story, but one of the stories that I keep trying to tell here over and over again in this season is, how did people go out there and get a partnership so that it can inspire other people to be, maybe they don't have Barclays in their neighborhood, but maybe they have another organization. So yeah. Sorry, if you could, the more you can talk about that, how you made that happen, that'd be great.
Of course, yeah, no. So my first thing I recommend is use LinkedIn. And I think everyone in this call might agree that LinkedIn has been so powerful to growing a network, right? And being able to connect with people so informally and formally on that platform is helped me massively. But when it goes out to getting sponsorship, because it's a lot of what we do on the influencer side, is that I essentially just reach out to people. It's kind of like, obviously with purpose. I don't just want to spam people's emails, but like if I think I've got something that I think this brand would be a good fit for, or I just reach out. I send emails. I said it's a lot. Like it started as a lot of cold emails. I just wanted to be in the room. I just wanted to be considered, and I wanted to really let them know what I'm doing. If they don't reply, then that's on to the next, and we keep trying to catch up with them because we know people are busy. But I think you just got to just go for it and just do as much as you can to reach out to people. I said, like, you're not going to get anywhere just sitting there and not trying to be proactive in the market. Just be out there and try echo your story and what you're doing as much as possible would be my advice. So yeah.
And what kind of time frame does it usually take in getting a sponsor like that that's been in your experience?
The $1 million, the $1 million, it could change so much. But we get asked, like, it all depends on the activation and the campaign. Like, a sponsorship could be turned around in 2 weeks. It can take a year, 2 years. It just depends on how quick that brand wants to move and if it makes sense at that time. Like we work with brands that we first had a meeting with about a project back in 2020, and we haven't activated it till this year because it's just not been the right time, or things have changed, or budgets have been held back, and it all depends on the timing of the brand. But I don't think you can actually put a fixed time on a sponsorship. I think you just need to if you've got the solution and they believe in that solution, then you just got to do as much as you can to get that over the line and make sure it's beneficial for all parties. But yeah, I couldn't put a time on it, to be honest. It varies so much, but yeah.
I think Chole in Zambia, she had a good quote. She was like, "Your urgency is not their urgency."
Yeah.
So it's like if you need the money right now, but they're not gonna necessarily. It'd be very unusual for them to be in the same group.
Yeah.
Baba, back in Senegal, the program that Kieran is describing there with Gamersake. Gamer. I'm going to say this right here. Sorry. For Gamer's sake with a 4 for the A. I mean, we'll put it in the notes, but no one ever reads notes. It's like for Gamer's sake. So, Baba, are there organizations like that you're aware of in your part of the world?
Absolutely. I'm really inspired by his stories because it reminds me the first when we were beginning our activities in Senegal. As I talk later, like we started an association called Sen Games, and we're doing community events. And it was exactly the same process, like looking for sponsors, looking a way to borrow consoles, TVs, and make an event great, inviting some girls, because in Africa it's really tough to have young girls or girls to come to play, because you know that there's a lot of stuff going on inside the social part, and the parents, and yeah, it was a real challenge for us, a real journey for us. But thank God, I think we were doing events, we were doing activities, and from that there was some sponsor who were really interested on what we were doing and how we were doing the process, the way, and the fact that we were small first, but we was professional. The way it was working, we had truly passionate people inside the association that really work and that really wanted gaming to grow real quick in Senegal. And from that, we started having some great talents on different games, FIFA, Call of Duty, a lot of games. And the talent, we have different reflections on the way that we can help them going fast and create maybe a carrot. So we start create them Twitter account, Facebook account, and make sure that they have some visibility every time they do events and they win they won the events. They have to communicate on that perspective, and it was truly interesting. And from that, we decided to create a small club and to give them some chances to have more exposure, because we knew that Twitter was the way, because every time somebody retweet, you don't know where it goes. So anybody can see it. So you don't know, you can have a chance from that. So we had a chance when we went to Ivory Coast to the Sidik Bakayoko events, the FASIA. Our youngest player, I remember he was 16 when he won the first FASIA on FIFA. There was a lot of crowd, there was a lot of noise, and we struggled a lot to move him to Ivory Coast, to Abidjan, and after that, parents, all the friends, all the family was truly happy about the performance and how did he manage to win the tournament. And we have a connection with the French embassy of Senegal that have saw the information on Twitter, all the lot of noises, and they decide to suggest us if we are capable to create a national esports team that can go abroad, have enough budget to go abroad, to make competition, international competition, and maybe put Senegal on the map and Africa on the map as well. And we start working on the project. And this process or this work help us create Solo Esports. And today we have Solo Esports. We have a big space, and in this space we have great next generation console. We have PCs, we have monitors. We are doing a little bit business. We are selling merch, and we are sending our players to go abroad to make it to international events. Yeah.
So Solo Esport has a venue, has a location.
Absolutely. We have a location. We are based in a city called Yoff Cité Biagui. And we have a location there, and we can host events. We can allow people to come here to visit or to come here to pay to play. So basically, it's like a gaming lounge, but it's like a complex, because we also have a pool. We have also a gym room gym space where people can go and train, because it's important to allow sports and esports, to combine them. It's really important, definitely.
Now we talked a couple of weeks ago with John Satterley in Australia, Fortress Esports, and he's talking about the venues that they're creating there. And they're just like monster. I mean, they're just like huge. I mean, it's just amazing. They have a little bit different approach on what they're doing there, but it's still all tied back into esports. So Solo Esports, you have the venue, and then you also have focused on teams or events. Do you have your own events?
I think we are doing both. We are focusing on teams, how to build strong teams, because at Solo Esport we have coaches. We recruit coaches, and the coaches are basically they are players. They were players back in the days. They won competition. They have experience on I'm not gonna say international stage, but continental stage, because they went to Morocco, they went to Ivory Coast to compete. So they have experience. So they can share their experience with the players. They can share some good strategies with the players, because we wanted that. We wanted players to be professional, and we have, if you want, we have 15 players. And 5 of them are getting paid every month. They're having money to practice, to compete, to go abroad, to compete, to represent Senegal on this kind of stuff, because we truly believe on these players, and we know that they are talented, because they have a lot of things to prove. Also, we have 10 players that are not paid, but they have jersey, they have coaches, and we are doing communication on their performance, because we are helping them. Because all these 10 players are not in Senegal actually, so they are in different part of the world, but they're Senegalese. So, because we wanted to create maybe different section of games. So we have 5 players on 2 players on FIFA. We have 1 player on Morocco, 1 player on Guilty Gear Strive, and also 1 player on Tekken. We also have a team on PUBG Mobile. The mobile gaming is getting really big in Africa, so we wanted to be in. absolutely. And also we are building a team on League of Legends because we truly believe that League of Legends is a really popular game. And if we want to reach different audiences, we have to be there. Sure. And after we are helping the players to grow, to have more experience and to practice a lot and to participate to competition. Also at Solo Esport, if we knew that if we wanted to create a business, as a true business, we needed to look for different business models. So we are hosting events, so it can be private events or events commanded from ordered from a brand. It can be Orange, telecom brand. It can be Pepsi. It can be different brands. Also, we are renting the space. If somebody want to host his own event, he can come pay the rent the space to use it. Also, we are looking for partners, so partner, put them in the jersey, give them exposure on different events, all this kind of stuff. Also, we have what we call a game pass. The game pass is to allow people to come to pay for 1 hour, 2 hour, 5 hour, 20 hours and to play. Those use our consoles, our PC, all this kind of stuff. Yeah.
That's great. All kinds of things there. So Kieran, for argument's sake, you don't have a dedicated location, right?
We don't know. We kind of sort of space ourselves around. I said the dream would be to one day have a hub where young people can come to and really interact with it. But we're kind of enjoying the space. Obviously, we travel up and down the country to tap into different communities and help other young people. But yeah, I said having a hub would is definitely on the bucket list.
Yes. When the money starts rolling in.
Yeah.
When you get the big sponsorships coming in out there. Do you find Kieran in the events that you're creating, is language ever come up as an issue of people speaking different languages and having that being a challenge in the events?
Honestly, not that I've really come across.
Yeah, just curious.
Yeah. I think being in London, I think it's so mixed culture that I think a lot of people understand English to an extent, or able to speak it. So in the time of doing events, I haven't had any language barriers or people not being able to communicate due to language. But yeah, I imagine it does happen as there's so many people coming together from around the world. But not I face no.
No, I'm just curious because I know that Bob has a huge challenge there because he's in West Africa, which speaks French. And then when I was in Morocco, I got to use more of my college French in Morocco than I've ever had, anywhere else. And then, with so much of the rest of Africa speaking English. So how do you handle different languages there, Baba?
In Senegal, we find because most of the players are speaking French, so it's good. But when we want to connect to different countries like Ghana, Nigeria, we have challenge because they're speaking English, but different English. So the way that Ghana speak English is different from the way that Nigeria is speaking English. They have accent on the English, and sometimes they are using local language inside. So sometimes you get lost on some different words. And also in Morocco, in North Africa, you can find out that there is different small challenge on the language barrier because you have a lot of people speaking Arabic, but the Arabic's language are different. But the chance they have is they can stream, do events, and speak only Arabic, and maybe write it on social media. But in our case, we are looking forward to speak more English because we want to hit more people in more countries. And last time I was discussing with somebody from Uganda called Ivan. He had an esport club called Arudem Gaming. Shout out to them. And he was telling me that in his country, the main language is English, but all the players are speaking the local language. So it's a real challenge to do streaming and to speak English because they not really understand English. So there's a lot of language barrier in Africa, and it's really tough. So every time I think about making a big esports event in Africa, I'm like, what language are we using? Are we doing co-casting and using French and English because we know that these languages are the more popular, or are we going to stick to English because we know that we can attract maybe more people, maybe the international audiences and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, it's a tough process.
The hardest thing ever was in Australia. You get Australians talking to each other, and they start talking really, really fast. It's just like we were clueless. We were clueless there. Kieran, you've also worked with influencers. You were saying, what kind of work have you been doing with them?
So for Gamer's Sake and Forsake, together as for Gamer's Sake being Forsake's community initiative, but Forsake is an influencer and talent management organization. So we manage content creators, streamers, professional esports athletes, and we're traditionally an agency and a management team behind this talent to really help evolve and elevate and sort of work on their brand. As you know, obviously content creators are the best at creating content and using their creative freedom to really make some great content, but they might not be so good on partnership or they might not have time to do partnership acquisition or sponsorship activations and managing stuff that doesn't have to do with their content. So what we found is that we wanted to be the pillar behind them. We wanted to give them a team that they could have access to where they're not on their own. As a content creators, it can be a very lonely space being a pro esports athlete, and mental health is a huge thing. And we wanted to be that sort of platform behind them that helps them really. They bring an idea to us. They want to launch merchandise. We go make it happen. We find the suppliers. We work on that for them. So really allowing them to focus on what they do best, and that is creating content or playing in esports tournaments. So yeah, that is our agency arm. So we focus on, I said, brand activation, sponsorship and partnership acquisition. Also finding them teams and organizations to collaborate with and partner with. And just everything else to what they do. I said we get different requests from them every day. Is it merch? They want to be on more podcasts. They want to make more public appearances. There's so many different sort of requests that they give, but we want to be that person where they put their hand up or they reach out and they go, I want to do this. Because I said it could be quite a lonely place when you press that live button off or you come off that gaming console. You're essentially on your own, right? So I think just providing that level of support to allow them to do what they do best.
That's when we were talking with Christian Bishop at Twitch. Yeah. He was like, he wanted to know what it's like to be a streamer. So he became a streamer for a few months.
Yeah.
He goes, man, that was work. He was just like, he was drained at the end. He said for him, it just wasn't any fun. He just didn't get the benefit of doing it. It was just so much work, and he was making some reasonable money at it, but it was just like, man, it was just a job out there, which sounds like a lot what you're describing, what you're experiencing.
It's definitely a job. Like I said, our clients' schedules change so much. Some of them are doing it full time. Some of them have a job. And they have a full time job outside of doing the streaming. So like it could be a case of they stream from 8 till 2, and then from 2 p.m. they work until 10, and then they get home, and then they've got to get back up. And like in that time, it's quite impossible. When you're streaming, you've got to make TikToks, you've got to make YouTube videos, you've got to do your editing, you've got to do your reaching out, you've got to speak with other content creators and really build your community. You've got to speak to your community, like interact with your followers, and it's a lot of work. Like obviously for the people that have it full time, they have a bit more time there, but they're still 12, 14-hour days. Like some of our clients, like there's no point messaging them before 12 o'clock in the afternoon because they've been up since 4. So they're not going to be answering their phones until 2 o'clock because they've been working all night, streaming or making content, and trying to make as much happen in the hours they do have. So it's a lot of work. I tried to do it in lockdown, and I bought a setup, and I was like, I'm going to stream. Like I'm going to be the next big streamer, like Mr. Beast. I'm coming for you. And I just got to a point when I was like, I want to make content because I think I really want to do it, but the time and effort it took, I was like, I can't do this while working and doing other things. So it took a back burner, but one day I will make my content journey.
Now, if I ask you questions you don't want to answer, just dance around them and we'll keep going. But in your agency, and I'm not talking about how much you're making, but what are the revenue streams? Where does an agency make money? Do you make money on when a sponsor sponsors an influencer?
So yeah, it is majority around sort of taking a fee from a activation or a sponsorship campaign, kind of as you would like. And to be fair, the model I sort of come together. I know agencies have been around for long, but my recruitment days, I was taking, if I got a candidate a job, I would take 20%. So it kind of still mirrors me to if I get one of my clients a brand deal or a brand working with them, and that client is paying 10K. We manage the whole activation, negotiation, legal, making sure that everything goes through. So the client just has to really focus on the activation. And then obviously we take a percentage of that. So yeah, that is probably the main revenue stream. I said if they go into an esports team or they go into employment with a team, like actually esports team signing, then there's different clauses because we'll be managing their whole life in that team, their whole journey. So it'll be everything from just managing their whole day to day with that team. So the fees can change, but mostly on sponsorship activation is where the revenue is driven by.
And it's usually you don't charge the influencer up front. So the influencer doesn't pay a fee up front to then be represented by you. Everything's just, you only make money when they make money, sort of thing.
And you know what it is, I say it to new clients and current clients, and it's in our best interest to do what we can for you and really try to push your brand out there as much as possible and get as much through. We try to get as much done as for you in terms of partnerships, because if you win, we win, and we only win if you win. So it's kind of like you make money, we make money. So I said we've got their best interest at heart to try and make as much happen within reason, and which makes sense to really try and monetize their brand.
Do you find sponsors for podcasts?
Funny enough, we've done some stuff. We've done some stuff with a sports podcast recently. Which is doing great things here in the UK. It's the Yours Man Away podcast, which is hosted by a goalkeeper. But we, do you know what? It's interesting, the podcast space, Tom. So maybe that's a separate conversation, because I find the podcast marketing so fascinating that it's different content. I don't know. You get different range of guests on. It's like, and I think the insights you can provide in a podcast is stuff you don't get in other forms of content. So. I'm really, really interested in the podcast. It's actually on my list and agenda. I'm trying to read up more on podcast marketing.
Hey, we should talk. We should talk. We could. Yeah. Definitely not the experts here, but we're a whole lot smarter than we were 6 months ago.
Yeah.
There's another organization that Christian Bishop brought up called Sponsors United. Have you ever heard of them?
I've had some conversation with them in the past. Yeah.
Because they've got a huge database out there in all kinds of because they're bigger in music and traditional sports than esports. But when you think of being able to go on there and say, okay, well, who has sponsored these kinds of events? Sort of where's the money going right now? It can give you a lot of good ideas. Do you ever sponsor esports teams in Senegal?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Oh, no, I was asking Kieran if he ever sponsors esports teams in Senegal.
So we've seen some brands do some stuff, and I think Baba will be able to tell us more about like activating in Africa and doing some stuff. But me personally, I haven't done any sponsor activations within Senegal, but doesn't mean that won't change.
Great. So, Baba, what's your sponsorship story?
Our sponsorship story started from the French Embassy of Senegal. Since they decided to finance to fund the project in the beginning, they gave us money for 2 years, and we spent the money building the team, having a venue, and paying the rent, all this kind of stuff. And since we start the 2022 years, we don't have any base fund like from the very beginning. So we are going on our own. We are using our own. And from now we have small sponsors, but they giving a little bit money in exchange on some activation. Now we have a bank called the Société Générale. They are based in France, but they have a lot of structures in different countries in Africa. And I think they also have an esport team called Gamers Origin. They are based in France, and they are doing a lot of competition. They are really popular, and we are having money from them, just little money from them, to be honest. And also we have a transport company that every time we have a competition, we are going abroad, they can drive us to the airport for free in exchange of some visibility on our social media. Also, we have a sponsor, but I think it's the most interesting sponsor because it's from the government of Senegal. That's the structure called 3FPT. They are working on how to professionalize some activities, some works, and help every people that didn't have the chance to go to school to perform on their daily basis activities and grow up. So they decide to support us in exchange of some training. So we are giving professional trainings about every work around esports or gaming. So every time we can give trainings on streaming, on how to be a good marketer on esports, on how to be better on different games, because we truly believe that yes, there is esports, there is some talent, but everybody cannot be esports professional players. So we have to look for different jobs and make sure that these jobs are maybe more easy to access. So we are giving trainings also at Solo Esports, and they are giving us money in exchange of that. Also now we are seeking for other sponsors, but every time it's really tough because they want one-shot activities, one-shot activation, but they don't want to support the full project or to give a big fund that can help you maybe to be sustainable for 2 years, 3 years, you see. So it's a different process. That's why every time we are going to a competition, I always came to you and ask you if you know somebody who knows somebody, because I think I've learned a lot into this journey. The first time we met and first time we discussed, and you told me that if you don't ask, you don't have. Since that, I'm starting thinking about every time I have the chance to discuss or network with somebody, and I ask, are you interested on esports? Are you interested on Africa? Do you want to do something? Because we have something, that's a crazy process. But looking for sponsors in Africa, it's really tough.
Well, it is one of the things I was talking to Eniola Idan at Gamer Africa, I think last week, and just talking about how important it is, in particular, that people like you, when you're talking to people outside of Africa, can bring your African story to the conversation, because that's something that sets you apart from other people. Hey, we can go on and on. I don't want to take your whole nights here, because it's night where you are, not where I am. But one quick question that we always ask everyone, and I'll just have just a short answer from each of you. Should the Olympics include esports in their official program? How about you, Baba?
I think yes. I think now we are sure that esports is becoming big. It's getting big every year, and we can definitely confirm that esports is becoming a strong sport. But the real question is how. The process is how, because we all know that sport doesn't belong to anybody, but esports belong to editors. So they have to have definitely conversation with editors, make sure that they are picking the right games, because I do know that you cannot play Counter-Strike or Call of Duty on Olympic Games.
So you don't think Mortal Kombat is going to make the cut?
Sure. There's a lot of blood, people will get crazy, sure. So we on the process of selecting games, I think it's really important, and on the process of including every country, because we are talking about international Olympic Games, because we got to make sure that Africa is involved, we got to make sure that MAI is involved, we got to make sure that Europe and every continent are involved into that process, into that discussions. But yeah, it's all about looking for the great games, picking the great games, and making sure that the rules, the process, or the way to participate to the tournament is maybe easy and can help every country to be on board and join.
Yeah. How about you, Kieran? Do you think the Olympics should include esports? I know the Commonwealth Games, they're in your part of the world.
Yeah.
Included them.
That was in Birmingham. I think it's more of a question. It's more of I think they have no choice coming up. I think the younger generation are interacting with gaming more than they are other sports. So if you really want to grow that audience of people watching the Olympics in 5 to 10 years' time, I think gaming or esports has to play a part of that competition. purely down to the fact that that's where the interest lies now, and that's what people want to see. How they, I said, go back to Baba's point, how they structure it, what games they pick, I'm sure will be a big debate of making sure they choose the right games. I think the Commonwealth Games did a great way of showcasing esports, and we had some great professionals from the UK really showcase themselves. If they can do it, let's try to do it on more of a world scale, and try to get more countries and more continents involved. But yeah, I think like the games that we pick, I think they want to go for the friendly games and still keep it quite sports. But I said, if they can, let's try to put in as many of the big esports titles as possible, because that is where esports lives and breathes. But then let's also put in the casual ones that a lot of young people that are not professional gamers would understand and get to, because I watch a League of Legends game and I'm starting to get it now, but it kind of blew my mind a little bit what happens in them games. So it'd be good to have games in Olympics which are easy on the eye, easy to understand, and examples being FIFA, Rocket League, stuff like that are really quite easy to watch. And really good to understand and really build that engagement for the more casual audience that will interact with it. So.
Yeah, when I used to go to, when I started going to the Blizzard Arena here in Burbank to watch Overwatch League, to watch all their games, and it's like I'd always see if I could sit by like a father and his kid, because then the kid could explain to me what the heck was going on. Because otherwise I'm just like, this is really pretty. But it's starting out, it's like, and little kids are like, they can explain, oh, look at, it meant something more to them. So
overwhelming.
Yeah, it is. And also we were talking to, Malf Mins, just listen to his recording before we release it here. And he had an interesting point in that the Olympics, men watch the Olympics for the competition. They watch it for who wins. Yeah. Women watch the Olympics for the stories of the athletes. And it's like, so it's like if depending on what kind of audience you want to attract. He was also saying that, if you want to attract a female audience, don't just have female teams. Women don't necessarily want to watch other women, only playing. What they want to watch is they want to watch, they want to hear the stories of the athletes, where guys are just like, no, we just want to see who beats the crap out of someone else and who wins there. So, hey, I'm going to wrap this up here because, like I said, I could keep going. There some really interesting things here. So, first with you, Kieran, are you looking for people to get involved with for gamer's sake?
Yeah, I said we're looking for as many people to collaborate virtually, in person as possible. So we've got a lot of exciting plans for gamer's sake and the community initiative. So looking to do is link up. So Baba, maybe we catch up after this and we see how there's synergy there and how we can really work together. But same with you, Tom, 100%. I think what I've learned from this industry is just every conversation's got to be had. And if something doesn't happen right now, maybe it happens in a year's time, 6 months time. But I think networking and speak to as many people as possible, because I think Babia, if he doesn't know somebody, he asks you might know someone that knows someone, and it just kind of builds that whole synergy of networking, building relationships. So happy to have any conversations and see what projects can come off the back of that.
That'd be great. So Baba, what's the best way to get a hold of you and see what you're up to?
Yes, I think absolutely we are always looking for sponsors, to be honest, and we are looking for people that are interested on esports, maybe in Africa, because we have different plans. And now I think in solo esports, in the upcoming years, we are planning maybe to expand more, to have maybe more players and maybe African players, because we want to be an African team and not only a Senegalese team. We want to expand a lot. So looking for big sponsors, absolutely. Every night I'm working on my deck and trying to do some pitches, I think it's really important. And like Kieran said, definitely open to network more and discuss with more people. And it's like that. It's a tough journey, but we are on and we will keep going for sure.
But to me, that's the fun part. It's like the connections. It's like you never know where something's going to go, something's not going to go. It's like, who knows? But just being out there talking. Hey, both of you, it's really great. I really appreciate you spending a little bit of time here. So this is the Gamers Change Lives podcast, season 2, Follow the Money. Thanks for listening. Play games, create jobs, change lives. Thanks, Kieran. Thanks, Baba.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Thanks for having me.